welcome to Beauties and Beasties, the independent pest podcast for the UK.
Hello, hello, hello. How are we all doing?
Hello. How are we?
All good. I got it right.
Yeah. This fine evening, how are we?
Oh, I'm doing very well, apart from the keen-eyed viewer would notice that there's probably something a little awry with my screen. I'm having to dial in from my phone this time. Yes, I feel very much like I'm in a shoebox here. I've been shrunked because of all things, and I'm sure you'll all appreciate this, the joys of owning a laptop, and then very much the joys of having a laptop die on you and then suddenly having to pull the small fortune that is, a replacement laptop out of thin air, which is just diabolical, isn't it, at the end of the day?
And the joy of it happening 4 minutes before you're on air.
Oh, no, again, it happened yesterday, and I ordered, and literally I thought I can't live without a laptop. There's so much stuff I have here. I have literally almost a terabyte of just files alone on my laptop, things I've written, photographs I've taken of every rat hole and molehill in existence. I just can't. So much to waste, and so thankfully. Yeah, it's all on the cloud. But yeah, I am going to get myself a NAS going forwards just to make sure that there are not any global snafus going there. But no, as long as you can all see me and hear me, then we are all doing very well. How about you, Hugh?
Yes, we've been ticking along this week. Everybody's been out doing their stuff. I didn't know that Valentine's Day, apparently he's the patron saint of honeybees. I don't know. I saw it. I didn't get time to check it, but obviously it's one of those silly facts. But if it's true,
I would say
it is.
I would say yes, because even if you go back to Greek mythology, the honeybee had a very strong association with the whole Greek pantheon, and also I think I want to say no, I'm trying to remember the name of it now, but there's a whole fable, apocryphal story around the honeybee and Zeus, and the fact that it would make the honey which made the ambrosia, the nectar of the gods, and so the honeybee demanded of Zeus, first mistake, making a demand of Zeus, demanded that they got a boon as a result. They said all the other animals on earth, they pick on me, they steal from me, they steal the honey that makes your ambrosia. Give me a wicked dagger with which to sort of defend myself. And Zeus said, well, I'll do as you ask because you've made such beautiful ambrosia. But at the same time, because you demanded it, I will put this caveat in there that any time you use your dagger, you will die. And so that became the story of the honeybee and the rest of it. And there is a bit more to it that I think kind of overlaps into that Valentine's-esque type thing. But there we go. We just random stuff from the inside of my brain.
Shit that comes out from nowhere. Something to do with there was something to do with nurture and I don't know, lovingly caring for something and some other pukey stuff as well. So I prefer I prefer the idea that if you stab somebody they die. So yeah, not quite so romantic, then, is it? If you stab me, you're gonna die from your own sting.
Yeah, I mean, the Greeks did have a very sort of interesting outlook on life. It's why they had a pantheon at the end of the day. They one god for every mood. If you really want to look at the mad pantheon of gods, going to have to look at the Romans. They had a god from everything from the hearth fire to war, to, there was even a god of raging erections. So they knew how to have a good time with the old Romans.
What's the Roman god of pestilence then? Wonder what that one is.
I've
Must
no
have to
idea.
look that up. Wow.
Yeah. Well, you have the whole internet, and so do people who are listening right now. So in the comments, ladies and gentlemen, the Roman god of pestilence, if you could.
We do have a patron saint of pest controllers, isn't there? There is one. I'm sure there is.
I have no idea. The only things going through my head now are not appropriate. Sort of like, no, can't say that one on air.
Yeah, you can. Crack on.
Yeah, crack on. Okay, I can say them. I shouldn't. There's the difference.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll let you off. We'll let you off.
So yeah, we've got a good guest on tonight, and I have to say, I'm going to embarrass him before we've even started now, because Andy's been on before, and Andy is an absolutely cracking fellow. But I asked him for the last Pest magazine to actually send in some pictures of his staff and explaining why they do what it is that they do. So if you want to meet some of Andy's staff, ladies and gentlemen, get your latest copy of Pest Mag and look out for Sarah, Bianca, and Griffin. 3 folks who work for Andy. And amazingly enough, you have a look at the reasons that they do pest management, and they're not 100 miles away from the reasons that we do them, Kel Surprise. It's the same pests, it's the same products, it's the other side of the world. And there we go. Largely speaking, the ethos, shall we say, behind pest management is very similar. But I think I like that a lot.
That's going to be probably the theme of tonight's podcast, isn't it? Really, America versus, not in that way, but the UK, and how the difference are. The differences for more so than the verses, because I think we lost last time, didn't we? And I think they got their freedom, didn't they, or something along those lines, or something.
I don't know. Let's not get political about that one.
No,
suffice to say, there was a snafu. There was some tea, horribly tragically wasted,
wasn't there? Yeah, I think. Yeah,
I know.
I think there was.
And then
yeah,
it went downhill from there.
Yeah,
but
sharply.
That being said, shall we bring Andy on to fight his corner? Allow him to, at the very least. Oh, very nice. We have a drum roll.
There we go.
Wow. So we're on for a rematch? Is that what we're looking for here?
Yeah, I think we're in a slightly weakened position at the present time.
Well, I think you guys had some extenuating circumstances the first time. Wasn't there another whole war going on at the same time? We want to feel like we kicked you guys to the curb, but I think there was something going on with France at the same time.
I do have, yeah. Just to be fair, there's always something going on with France. But there is a pest-related reason, so there was a very specific pest that helped you guys win the War of Independence. You know what this? Have you heard this?
Yeah, remind me. I know I've heard this. Yep, for sure.
It was the mosquito. It was and it was malaria, different diseases and malaria. Yeah.
Yep.
So the resident army, the Army of Independence, had be exposed to this, and although they didn't have an immunity, certainly those who were weak enough not to survive had died years off, and those who were strong enough to shrug it off had done so. And of course, when all the European soldiers came over, those from France and the UK, and even some from, I think, Holland, they could not, they hadn't been exposed to malaria before, so they completely fell over. And so we have to thank the humble mosquitoes, Anopheles, for helping you guys win your independence.
Yet again.
There we go.
That's right. And also, isn't St. Patrick, didn't he lead the snakes out of Ireland? Isn't that unofficial patron saint of pest control?
Don't know, but he did take them out, didn't he? The snakes.
I think so. I think St. Patrick was. You guys would know better than me.
Yeah. Well, no, Ireland's another country, isn't it? place,
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's true. That's true.
We normally have a couple guys from Ireland on, so they'll be able to help us out with that, I'm sure. So if you know the answer to that, put it in the comments. So for everybody that because there's going to be a few people that haven't met Andy before, so
sure,
give us a quick synopsis of why Andy got into pest control.
Okay,
what pulled you in?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I wanted to be right off the jump. I wanted to be a Ghostbuster when I was in elementary school, and I started out, collecting bugs and busting ghosts and that sort of thing. I went to school for fisheries and wildlife after high school, and I took pest control as a summer job, and just fell in love with it right off the jump. It's been kind of the only thing for me ever since. So it's been fabulous, and now I hate to say it's almost next year will be 30 years even in the industry. My first summer was 1997, so 2027 will be 30 years for me.
So did you start working? I can't remember. Did you start working for somebody else to begin with?
Yeah, I worked I worked for a family-owned company here in Syracuse, New York, and I worked for them for 10 or 11 years until they were bought by the biggest pest control company in the world, and I lasted about 3 months under that, and the wife and I said, you know what, we never would have left that small family-owned company. I would have retired from that, but the new boss in town wasn't for us, so we set off on our own, and that was 2008, and started Perimetek Pest Management, and here we are. Oh my gosh, this is almost 20 years for this. Holy cow. I'm feeling very old suddenly.
What was the one thing that really turned the screw to make you make the jump? What was it about the new company? We won't mention any names, but what was the one thing that you just thought one day, because obviously you went ticking along for a while, and then one day you just thought, I'm on it.
Yeah. For me, I know exactly the moment, because you go into it thinking, I'm going to give this a try, right? Like, let's not make any judgments. And at the time, that was, I don't know, 2007 or something. I didn't really know much about these bigger pest control companies. I was just working within a small pest control company. And I was at that point, I was in a sales and service role. I was handling sort of Western New York, sales for commercial accounts and servicing commercial accounts in Western New York. And I had sales goals for the new company. And one of the things they had for Syracuse, New York, in our territory was a termite sales goal. And we notoriously don't really have termites in Syracuse. Like this central New York region, we're just devoid of termites. They have them north of us, they have them south of us, east, west. We just don't have them in our territory. And it's in 30 years, I've seen termites one time because they came in on pallet wood from somewhere else. So this isn't something that's common. And I had a goal of maybe $5,000 or $10,000 a year to sell termite work. And I had a meeting with my boss at the time, and he said, "Have you seen your goals, your numbers? Are you okay with those goals as a quota or whatever?" I said, "Yeah, sure. No, I'm fine with it, except for the termite one. I'm obviously not gonna hit that goal." And he goes, "Don't worry about that. You'll find people that'll buy that. You'll be able to sell that." And I thought to myself, oh boy, no, that breaking that ethical barrier for me is like, you lose me right off. Like I'm going to be done. Like, I'm going to bow right out of that. So I said, this is not going to be for me. And that's the moment we kind of said, I think we're going to move along.
Do you think then, you obviously went on your own then, did you get it right straight away? Having worked for somebody before, did you have it in your mind exactly how you were gonna go and how you were gonna do it, or was it just like, let's just give it a go and see what happens?
Yes and no. There were aspects that were 100% spot on. My preconceived ideas of what I wanted to do have had a continuous thread that led all the way to today that were correct. There was a bunch of other ideas that I had that were completely incorrect and that I needed to learn and sort of shed some of those ideas. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Now, I have to say, I mean, because that just reminded me on the last time that you were on, the last episode, which was, I don't know, was it a year and a half ago now?
Yeah, it's quite a while, actually.
Quite a while ago.
2 years.
But you were telling us, so and it's literally, it sparked my brain there. You're saying we tried a lot of things in and out. So forgive me saying you started doing a lot of sort of like residential and commercial. And then when we spoke to you, you said you had almost made a total flip. You were in the process of, you looked through all the numbers and you weren't long into having done that big push away from residential exclusively into commercial contracts. And then sort of like you were actually finding commercial, you weren't waiting for them to come to you. You were actively going out and saying, you are my customer, and you will like it. So, I mean, just from that, can you give us an update on how that's going? It's 2 years later. How's that gone? Has that worked?
Yeah, and actually, when we talked, it was about 2 years ago. We were already several years into that process at that point. We did a sort of a step down of our residential work. So year over year, we were eliminating service lines sort of strategically. As each season would approach, we'd decide, okay, which ones are we not doing anymore, and what are we going to do with those customers? Are we going to shuttle them off to someone else, or are we just going to cut that account base cold turkey? For us, at this point, we only market to commercial at all now. I mean, and probably 93% commercial at this stage. It's gone remarkably well. It slows your growth as you're cutting service lines where revenue is gone, right? It's not coming back, and you're replacing it. It's sort of this like transition where you almost start to kind of tread water a little bit. We haven't. We've been able to exceed what we were cutting with new growth, but our growth could have been a lot more if we weren't cutting things. But it's gone fantastically well. The people that we're bringing in are getting trained specifically for the commercial market. So you have a different mustache than the last drink you did. Oh my gosh, it just killed me. I love it. Sorry, Alex. Yeah, there we go. Oh my gosh. So the training that we do now, like if you took a technician that started with us, say 3 years ago, they don't know how to do the residential work we did 5 to 7 years ago. Like the jobs that we would do at a house, they're just not accustomed to it. So, and this is where I felt like you have to sort of decide one side of the fence or the other. If you're going to do something excellently, you just do that thing. You can't divide up that focus and training time to a million things. You're going to do 100 things subpar, or you can do 10 things absolutely amazing. And you got to decide, is it more advantageous to do those 100 things or just do those 10 things really, really well? For us, we wanted to focus, and it's been fantastic. But if you grab one of our technicians and said, hey, go to this house and do a carpenter ant service at this residential structure, they'd be like, okay, well, I know how I do this at an office. What do we do, at a warehouse? But what do we do at this house?
So for everybody listening, because obviously your pest control in America is slightly different in there's definitely like 3 different sections, isn't there? So how would you define it differently between what we do and what you guys do over there? Because you have like spray and pray, go around servicing houses, then you've got your commercial side, and then you've got your wildlife side, haven't you? Would that be?
Okay, yeah. So I think it's more granular than that a little bit. You do have some of the, I would say, let's call them high volume sort of treatment companies where they're doing lots of customers. It's typically residential, typically exterior only, a lot of liquid applications to the outsides of houses. Then you might have sort of what I would call a traditional pest control company where you do residential and commercial, you do complete services, maybe more IPM, kind of a full service sort of thing. You have a very small number of sort of commercial focused only, like we are. You have a lot of like residential only. A lot of people don't do commercial. But that's sort of how that breaks out. Wildlife for us is like sort of totally separate. There are some pest control companies that will include wildlife, or they'll have that licensing to do wildlife work as well. A lot of those are ones that do combination commercial and residential, and weigh heavily on the residential side. For us, we don't do any wildlife. We have a network of nuisance wildlife control operators that will refer that work out to.
So what was the one, right? So again, you've made this decision to go into commercial. Again, what was that one like eureka moment that you said, you know, we've had enough of running a route. We've had enough of that. We're going to go commercial only, and that's what we're going to do. Was it a definite like chop, or was it a phase?
It was always an idea that we wanted to focus on commercial. That wanted to be something that we were heavily involved with. It was something that when I was, in the field working for another company, I enjoyed that work the most. It was where I felt like integrated pest management and, systems thinking and these kinds of problem solving things were most valued. So that's where I found the most like creativity and intellectual interest was in that commercial side. So I was always going to have that be heavy. We did residential as well because that's low-hanging fruit. When you first start out, you need money to pay the bills, right? So you do kind of anything you have to do. And I always knew I wanted to go in that more commercial direction. It was when it started to impede on our commercial work that I was like, the residential side just is noise. It's like this din of calls and callbacks and problems and hand holding that it just wasn't as exciting for us. And then we also started to recognize that if we were commercial only, our revenue would dip a tiny little bit in the off season. Like the variation, our differential between our biggest month and our littlest month is about 1.5 times. When we were more residential, it was like 13 times. So we would make 13 times more in, say, the middle of the summer than we would in the winter. And that managing that cash flow so that you have consistent work for people to do, because you can't just pay them to sit around necessarily, and to keep those technicians engaged and active, it just didn't make sense. Our winters are so harsh that if you don't have that rotation of work happening all the time, it's really hard to keep a staff member. So for, like Alex showed at the beginning, those staff members that he has in the thing, we wanted those best people. We wanted those people to work for us and stay with us, and we needed to give them something to do all the time. And the commercial route, was really that key to making that happen for them.
So this is going to be a stupid question.
I love it.
Why does it get so busy in the summer then?
So it really doesn't for us right now with our commercial stuff. I mean, we will get a few more calls because you have more insects in the mix. On the residential, the more traditional side, we have ants, spiders, bees, and wasps are the real big ones through the summer that gets it just cranking. We'll have our carpenter ants are prolific here, so you'll get inundated as soon as the snow is gone. You'll get inundated with carpenter ant calls. If you do, we did these years ago, we get mole and vole calls like crazy. As soon as the snow's gone, people see the trails in the grass and they're calling you. And then the bees and wasps on the back half of the year, cluster flies, overwintering, box elder bugs, stink bugs, all those, ladybugs and things that are trying to come into the house in the fall. So that season can be very, very busy, mostly driven on the insect side in the residential market.
And that's all phone calls coming in, is it? Sorry, Alex. They're all or are they routine part of your spray and praise? Or is it like, we've got a rat in the house, we've got a wasp nest? Or is that all?
Yeah, it's a mix of both. And I think a lot of that depends on the strategy. So one of the things we did early on was try to get out of the call and response sort of work. So have as much of our residential work that we could would be funneled into maintenance programs where we would do like a 3 time a year, residential maintenance program, or we do sort of annual treatments that would be kind of on our terms, scheduled preventative treatments and things like that. A lot of companies just get inundated with calls, and then they're just like firemen, running out all the time to try to put out fires all the time. And that's just, it's hard to manage that. It's hard to cost structure your business around that. The planning is just terrible. I never really liked that. And that's why we wanted to sort of move away from that. And it ends up being one of our sales points, one of our differentiations is that we are commercial only. So that company that is trying to do both is going to run into a roadblock of you can only fit so many commercial accounts through, say, for us, it's like the month of May or the month of like August or September, because you have to reserve capacity for those residential work, the call-in work, or even just your regularly scheduled, programming of residential jobs. So the commercial work needs to vie for that same technician time. So the capacity that you need to carry through those busy months is a lot bigger than what most companies want to carry, because you don't want 2 or 3 months of the year. You have huge capacity to handle that big influx of work, and then you're paying the cost of maintaining that capacity in the months where you don't need it. So for us, we tell commercial accounts, look, when it's May and every, mom and pop house is calling because they have carpenter ants chewing down their house, we're not responding to that. We're here for you. So we can guarantee that our response is going to be consistent 12 months out of the year. Doesn't matter what's happening on the residential side. We're just foregoing that. And I describe this a lot like having the discipline to do this. It's like, if you ever seen one of those like cash booths, you go in there, it's like on a game show, and you go in the booth and they have cash and they blow this cash up, and it's like a phone booth that you're in, and the dollar bills are flying everywhere, and you get to keep whatever cash you can grab, right? That's how that whole thing works. The summer, you're in that cash booth, and there are $100 bills flying by you all day long. The discipline you have to have is some of those $100 bills are not for you if you're going to go this sort of route. You can't take both of them. You got to just stand there, let that cash blow by you, and know that your success is in the long term. It's in the perpetual servicing that you're doing. You're keeping these accounts for a long time. You're doing them every single month, and you let that big money just go past you, because we'll still get the calls. Our phone will still ring because we're listed as a pest control company. Oh, I got a yellow jacket nest. Oh, I got carpenter ants. Oh, I got voles. And we go, okay, we're referring you to here. Okay, call this other company. Here's call them over there. They're great. And we know that every single time we do that, it's $200 to $500 that we're handing away. But we have to do that to maintain consistency for who we've promised we will be there for.
I mean, that's an amazing outlook, and it very much is a long game plan, and it's taking consistency. It's like playing the stock market at the end of the day. Do you invest in stocks and shares, or do you invest in commodities? One is going to give you a long, sustained growth, but it's not going to be big. And the other one, Bitcoin, way, oh shit, hey, oh shit. You can win big, but you can also lose big as well. And I remember you saying, anyone who's listening to this, anyone who's listening right now, you might get the impression, the inkling, the abstract thought, Andy is quite a data-driven guy. It's to the point that you have a lab in your little things as well. And I had the good pleasure of going to visit you, and actually met Bianca and Griffin both, which was absolutely wonderful. But you have your own little lab. But the point I'm making is you also have a little sort of like series of wooden placards up on the wall, wooden sort of like discs, which have been eaten by carpenter ants, because you did some research as to when carpenters. Now, the point I'm telling you all these stories is mostly on the lines of, actually, I bet for a penny to a pound, you have some really interesting data-driven insights as to the difference between the UK and the US. I don't know whether or not you actually do, but I know you do your research before you come in here. So do you have any sort of like, can you give us some of this wisdom for the UK? What have you unearthed? That's what I'm basically asking you right now.
Yeah, I actually, it's funny. I was doing some deeper dive a little bit into some of the differences, and one of the things I did, I actually did an AI analysis of podcasts, of the difference of the podcast topics for England and for the United States. Now, you guys have a lot fewer, because you have fewer people and all that. But there's still a number of leading podcasts, Beauties and Beasties, of course, being one of the better ones, and Pest Perspectives. I see Sean's on here, and yeah, Gabe bowed out. I tried to get Gabe to come on today, but he's actually getting ready for some things at his house. But and I looked at the American podcast, like what are the topics, and I wanted to use this to kind of look at what things are on the mind of the industry, what things are people talking about in the industry, and that is sort of an indicator of where we are as two different industries. And there is a big delta between the two. Honestly, the UK podcasts are overwhelmingly skewed towards technical techniques, service, talking about biology, talking about actual pest control as you think about it, right? Like the actual operation of pest control. The US podcasts are well geared towards sales and marketing. Almost all the podcast titles, when you look at the episodes, what the title of the episode is, it is geared towards Google AdWords and
The
marketing
business rather
strategies.
than the killing.
Exactly. There's very few. I mean, there's a few. I know, like Pest Posse, Foster and Cully at Pest Posse do like training and technical things, but even though they'll venture into the business side, but most of the rest of them are very much on the how do you do the door-to-door, sales? How do you market your business? How, like, and it's almost like I felt a little. Not ashamed, but I was like, oh man, come on, we can do better than this. We can talk about some technical things, right? Like, but we're very much driven for sales and growth and the economics of it, and how do you arrange this business to make the most amount of money and sell that business in the shortest amount of time. Like that's the most focus that happens publicly out there.
You say you feel, like, come on, guys, we can do better. I actually think our industry needs to talk about money more. I genuinely do. I think we do not talk about money as much. It's a bit of a taboo. I mean, British culture, it's a bit of a taboo to talk about how much you make anyway. But even more so when you are talking to your, your neighbor, your colleague, and your competitor nominally. Oh, how much you charge? But we should talk more about it, because we are stuck, in my opinion. And people listening to this, you can throw shoes at me, a pest tech, all you like. I think the majority of industry, because we will have, the service companies at the top, big 5 service companies take away almost 70% of the work in the UK. The rest of that work is taken on by micro businesses and SMEs. And we have followed what they have done for the last 20, 30 years in terms of contract negotiation, in terms of in sort of like financial negotiation. And we're operating from a point of weakness. The only thing that we know how to do, colloquially speaking now, in order to achieve a contract is to negotiate on price. And the only way we can negotiate on price is to bring it down. And we end up getting into this cyclical death spiral to the bottom. We should be negotiating on value. We should be negotiating on flexibility, on technical expertise, all of these other things that differentiate you from the big 5. And we don't. And I think that pest managers in the UK, largely speaking, are excellent at doing their job, and they are not great at running a business. And I'm sorry to say that, because there is elements of running a business that we just all shy away from, just bury your head in the sand. We want to get out there. We want to do the work. We like listening to technical podcasts because we like to learn how to do our jobs better. Trying to get someone to do a podcast on marketing, and people would be like, bugger off. And that's it. I mean, there we go.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You.
Sorry. No, I was just thinking, you said that it's all about business and how people can build their business and sell it on as such. So why haven't you taken that temptation? Why haven't you? Because there's a lot. There seems to be a lot in America. That does seem to be the aim. Is grow it, flog it, go off and go to Florida in the sunshine or something.
Yeah.
So
no, it really
what makes you stay as an independent? What makes you stay there? Your memories from before when it got flogged and you had, what was that?
No. So it's actually a little more strategic than that. And I see my wife is actually in the comments. So I know right now she's going to say, if someone gives us $8 million, we'll sell it right now. That's her number.
Gone.
But no. So here's the thing. If you're going to make a company that can do really, really good work, it oftentimes runs counter to the kinds of decisions and things that you need to do, design a company and culture that is transferable. So the more transferable the asset is, the less quality you actually can generate, like the actual true quality that organization is going to generate, because it's going to be able to be something that, people are going to be interchangeable, and you can transfer that ownership and that system will keep going. The problem is that if you want to have buy-in from the technicians and the people actually doing the work, which you absolutely have to have if you're going to do really high level work, it runs completely counter to transferability, to, making somebody more systematized. So you have to kind of decide, okay, are you going to go in this like plug and play, everybody's a cog and can get replaced and whatnot. That is definitely the most profitable and transferable that you can build that business. But it's also going to be one of the lesser quality businesses. Like as far as not quality, because obviously you say, okay, well, they made a lot of money. It's certainly quality. But I mean, the actual boots on the ground, what's the empirical value and quality of the work being done? Because if you're transferable, it's not going to be very high. And if it's very high, you're not going to be very transferable. So you kind of have to choose. Yep.
Does that follow through then, that you think that the bigger a company gets, the less quality that they provide?
I think that it's not like a law of nature, but is an attribute of human relationship and interaction, that as the number of people involved with a organization gets too big, you start to lose the individual buy-in at some level. You just don't have the same buy-in. If you're in a group of 8 or 10 or 12, your importance to that group is really high, and you understand your importance as being really high. If you're in a group of 100, your importance is a lot less. If you're in a group of 10,000, you know that your value is very, very diluted, and there's no way around that. Like you just there's not. Okay, Alex, you want to debate that?
I'll debate that in the sense that that's all got to do with your management structures and hierarchy. I tried to explain this before, but if you have, as you say, if you are one in a pool of 1,000, then obviously you feel like you are just one minnow in the shoal and you're not doing much. But I mean, imagine but what you're saying there is the thing that makes your shoal unique. It's a small shoal. Everyone knows you. You know everyone. There is that personable element. People are, you are leading them as opposed to managing them, because they know you and they'll follow you to the gates of hell, so to speak. But the thing is surely then, when you're a large company, the problem isn't the shoal. The problem is the middle management are not leaders. They are simply just managers. They're just orchestrating what they're doing. And if each sort of like leader of that little pack was personable and people were happy to work for them, then you wouldn't have that breakdown of company culture. You wouldn't have that breakdown where people felt as though they're just a cog in a machine, because they've got their group, their tribe that they are working for. And suddenly it's like having a dozen small shoals swimming together as opposed to one disparate cloud of weird. I mean, thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I said I don't think that it's an absolute law, but I think that when you are designing a large organization, the inefficiencies that get designed in to be able to provide the autonomy required at those smaller breakdowns. So where you have, a group of 10 or a group of 20 that are responsible for themselves, that do their own thing. A lot of the larger organizations see those inefficiencies that get introduced, and they don't weigh the value of, hey, what if we had everybody with 100% buy-in? How awesome would we be? They don't really weigh that as well. They weigh, hey, there's all this inefficiency. We need to have consistency. We need to have protocols, and that's going to maximize our profitability, because ultimately, at the end of the day, most of these companies are owned by multiple shareholders that want to see profitability in their portfolio. They want to see growth in their portfolio. So I don't think it can't happen in larger organizations. I just think that there's such a benefit to not doing it that it just makes it, you're stupid if you do it any other way. And not that there aren't some examples where you see it broken down more. Like I think of something like a large entity like the Catholic Church, and you have the Pope in the Vatican, and then you have these deacons and bishops, and I don't know the structure, but it breaks down to where the person at the parish level, that goes to their church and has a priest, probably follows that priest more closely than they do the Pope. And so you have broken it sort of down into these smaller and smaller elements, which I think can happen. We just don't see that happening. So these large organizations are designing their systems to be the most efficient and not to be successful, not to provide the best service. They're just designed with a different purpose.
There's an interesting thing, and Hugh, sorry, I can see your cogs turning, and I'll let you chime in a second. But in the UK, of course, we classically had the big three for a long time. So Rentokil, Mighty, then Terminix, now Virgo, and then Ecolab. And now there's been a couple others where Orkin has finally joined our shores, and we have Anticimex over here as well. But also we have the Pest Partnership. And the Pest Partnership is operating in a slightly different way, in the sense that it appears, and we had Savas on this before, that instead of them pulling everyone, they have a group, but the group is made up of the companies, and they're very much keeping their individual company identity. I'm wondering if this goes back to exactly what you're saying there, which is instead of them being one homogenous lump of amorphous pest management, they still manage to keep their identity. They still manage to keep their sort of like the core values of each company, but they're all moving towards the same part. And it'll be interesting as to whether or not that is the reason that they've done that, and time will tell. And I'll lean across to you and Hugh now to chime in on that.
So you're describing, we had Copasan for a long time, for 50 years. And that was exactly that in the United States, where it was affiliated small independent companies that were sort of like regional players. That would be somebody like us, right, in a city that handles sort of a region. And they would do basically national contracts for big, large, corporations that cover the whole country, where a single small company like us couldn't service, 10 states. So the Copasan network would have affiliate companies in each of these locations and all the geographies that they needed to. And that worked really well. And what you're doing there is you are distributing ownership down to where that local company now has ownership and control and autonomy of what they do. And so you really did get the best service that you probably could. But if you had ownership consolidated and not distributed down, one organization that's going to do all those service sites, you run into those motivational problems at the boots on the ground level, because you see yourself as not being close to the owner, not being close to the importance of what you're doing, and you start to be more and more disconnected. And sometimes you understand it at almost a subconscious level. The actual technician understands these things a lot of times by feel. They just don't feel appreciated. They're just not sure, and not at a conscious level. But Copasan was exactly that example, and I think that got bought by Terminix probably 10 or 15 years ago, and has been since dissolved.
That's a shame. Oh, Hugh,
you're
started
muted.
Talking and instantly muted yourself.
There you go. Uh-oh.
No, we can't hear you, Hugh. What have you done? Oh, you've managed to break it. I think headset's disconnected. Okay, Andy, it's you and me, buddy. Right, moving on from that. So, one more shout for Hugh. Is he going to manage this like a magic trick? Introducing everyone, Hugh, to the stage in 3, 2. Oh no, okay. No, so I mean, back to me, sort of like visiting your teams, because I know Hugh's got a question about this, but I have to say I was really impressed by the passion and the enthusiasm that your teams had, and I was very lucky to be able to sort of like. So
there we go.
Hugh has just gone full stop.
He's left the building.
Rage.
Yep.
But it was so strange to see the way in which you guys did pest control, and how different it was to us, despite the fact that the tools that we use are largely the same, and the pests that we're dealing with are largely the same. And you read the article, the ethos that we have, it's all about serving the public, having pride in what you do, because you are providing a service that is, removing the distress from the individual, preventing damage and stopping the spread of disease.
Yeah.
But the way in which you achieve these things is a very different way of doing things, full stop. And I was, some of the things absolutely blew me away. And so, of course, and I'm not going to throw it, but you don't do environmental risk assessments, for example. Over here, everything we do, everything has an environmental risk assessment. And I was talking to Bianca, and she was like, yeah, I do one. I'm a responsible member, but it's not a...
it's not formal.
It's not a formal thing. We do one because it's part of our company ethos. We do one because we believe it is the right thing to do. But it's not part of your local legislation and requirements, and that blew me away. That absolutely sort of like made me.
Yeah. Oh, are you back, Hugh?
Am I?
He is.
Yes!
Welcome back to the stage, Hugh.
I can't remember where we got to, so
okay.
back on.
Okay.
We were talking about Copasan beforehand.
I was going to just ask, because I noticed that you you do have quite a few team meetings, you guys, at Perimetek. So
Yep.
how do you get your staff, or have we just done this? How do you get your staff to buy in? As it
Yeah,
were?
sure. So the first thing is it starts before they even get hired. We want to craft a narrative for them of what their future is going to be and get them to buy into that. So the way you lead somebody is, I think, a lot of times not how people think that you do. They think that you tell them what to do, or you show them what to do, and then they're going to follow you because they think it's a good idea. And it's really not. The way you lead somebody is you can author a chapter in their book about themselves. You can say, hey, I see your future being like this, this, and this. If they like that story, they're going to go, I think I'm going to make that part of my story, and off you go. So it's about looking forward and defining a future that they want to be a part of. And as soon as you have that, you have all the motivation you could possibly need. Like we don't have trouble motivating people. If we say, hey, look, here's where we're going. This is where we want to be in 5 years. Here's where we want to be in 10 years. Here's how you're important to that. Here's what we see you doing. Here's the advancement we could see. Does this sound like fun? Yeah, it does. Let's go. And it's not for everybody. This doesn't mean like I could just say this to anybody and they're going to be like, yeah, I want to be in pest control and learn all about bugs. But for the right person, it's a godsend. They go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I found my way into this. This is absolutely perfect. And the more you're cognizant of it, the more you find yourself sort of authoring chapters in their book and like literally saying, okay, I'm going to try to plant a seed that's going to write a chapter about their future. And they'll accept it as part of their story, the narrative of their identity within themselves. And it works amazingly. But I think we tend towards thinking of motivation, leadership, management as something done to our people and not something done with our people. It's like with their involvement, they have to be engaged in that. And then at that point, it's all bets are off. You're good to go.
So at that, partly part of that you start that process before you employ somebody. Do you have the same sort of issues over there as we do over here? Because we couldn't start that process because Jesus Christ, actually even trying to find somebody is just oh man, it's like, we're just happy to find somebody, let alone fucking select them.
Sure. Alex, do you want to pipe in something?
I was literally about to sort of like frame this in the sense that every time I've spoken to anyone from the States, the number one thing, what's the biggest problem? I speak to them about my day job. What's the biggest problem you have in the States? What's the biggest problem? It's not products. It's not, the removal of this. You always say it's a labor crisis, Why is that? Because I think that's exactly what he was saying, but this is the name that I get out of this all the time, the labor crisis.
Okay. Do you want the unfiltered real answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Here we go. It's because most of the companies that are trying to hire people aren't good enough. It's because what they're offering isn't good enough. It's because they don't have a good story of what they are going to be able to tell that person. They can't go and say, hey, this is the path we're on. Do you want to join it? And if it's a crappy story, people are going to say no. And so what we are trying to do when we say, hey, I can't hire people, I can't get anybody to join this, the public is voting and they're voting down for you. They're saying, I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to. And what we're trying to find out is, how do I not put anything into that person's future? How do I put the least amount into that person's future? And do the least amount of work on me to make my company awesome and to make us worth investing themselves into? How do I put the least amount but get the maximum amount of buy-in from somebody else? That's the ratio we're trying to do. How do we break the rules of relationship? If I put in 5%, how do I get Hugh to put in 90%? Oh, Hugh doesn't want to do that? Oh, it's because Hugh sucks. No. We're both going to put in 50%. How about that? And we do something awesome together. And Hugh goes, yeah, it sounds great. Let's do it. You can get people will do stuff for free if they believe in it. They're telling you they don't believe in what you're doing. And so you have to change it. So the short is like, stop sucking. The companies like get better.
But the thing is, if you were to put up a job advert tomorrow, okay,
Yep.
how many people would you get to an interview? How many people would apply?
Okay, so we will seek people out. So a lot of times we don't get people that will come to us. We'll do, obviously, networking and referrals is the most important. When we do things out into the public outside of our network, usually we're evaluating people's resumes and then inviting them to apply. We're going out, just like we do with our accounts. We're going to go seek people out, and we're going to tell them, hey, I think this might be something you would be interested in. Do you want to come in and have a chat with us? And we'll talk. And our interview process is completely different. We do a narrative style interview that most people, when they're done, honestly, a full probably 15% of people that interview with us end up crying during the interview. I'm not even kidding. Because
stop hitting them then, Jesus.
No, and no, it's not in a bad way. It's because our interview process gets to the core of what they're about and reminds people of the path that they want to be on, or maybe they've strayed from. And a lot of times we end those interviews with, okay, based on this, here's what we think for your career advancement. Not with us, just in general. Here's what we think you're going to need to be doing, and here's what we think your next steps. We'll send them a nice email that has not a, hey, thanks for applying, but a, hey, based on your thing, I think your best option is to go back into auto body repair like you did in middle school and high school, and then this and blah 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 whatever, and do these skills. But then when you hit on the right person, it just takes off. So it's a sort of a different kind of thing. We don't have any problem getting people. We end up with more people than we can use. We have people that are coming and offering their kids and nephew, whatever, hey, go work with this company. They're going to be awesome for you. We have more people than we can handle because we're telling a good story, because we're investing in those people, because it's true and we can demonstrate it. We've structurally built in what we're doing into the core of our company. It's not just a couple words on the wall that we say, hey, we believe in honesty and integrity and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's a completely different thing. So the work is internal with every single owner. You've got to sit there and do a lot of freaking work and know what you're about and know what you want to do and know what you can offer and have a compelling reason for them to buy in, and they will. People will flock to it. So I hate to call it out, but that's why we can't get people.
Now, I'm going to build on that, because you actually did a podcast on this a little while back, so I remember listening to it. I know you remember. And basically, I remember in the podcast, and maybe it wasn't the whole podcast, but it certainly was an element of it. And we quite rightly pointed out that most job adverts out there are listing the things that you should generally be giving them anyway. What's the number one thing? Your salary is this. Okay, that's important to know, but it's not the be all and end all. What's the next line? You get a company uniform. Well, of course you do. You're not going to turn up in your pajamas, are you? You get a company van. Of course not. And so the big selling points that people put on their job adverts are not selling points at all. They're the statutory minimum requirements to hire someone. And it kind of shows that if your biggest selling point, the thing that you can think that someone needs the most out of their job, is the minimum you can get away with giving them, then you're not going to invest into them, either financially or emotionally or the rest of it. And that really struck me, actually, because I started having a look at adverts and I was like, they're really the same. They're all like this.
And you completely nail it, because those typical job descriptions or advertisements for employment, they list basically two things on the top end of that. What I want from you, you're going to show up and you're going to have this qualification, you're going to have a driver's license, you're going to do this, you're going to be responsible for these things and have good communication. And here's the minimum things that I'm going to give you that everybody else gives you. Why don't you want to apply? That's not good bait. If you've ever fished, that's not good bait right there.
So, help us out here. So, yes, as someone who, arguably, when we talk about the labour crisis, and there is a labour crisis in the UK as well, people do not want to get engaged with pest control, and we make up all kinds of reasons. It's because people are lazy. It's because people don't want to work in pest management. It's because we're not offering enough comparative to, football players and rock stars. But you're telling me that all of that complete fallacy. We are basically lying to ourselves and each other to cover up the fact that we can't write a good job advert. So, with that. Where do we go? You say so.
Yeah.
Wisdom.
So that there's more to it than that. You got to back that up further. You got to back that truck up further. What is the company that you're trying to build? What are you trying to do first? Like, if you're not trying to do something cool, like you could do anything tactically you wanted, and it's still going to fall flat. So does your company have a direction that's meaningful to anyone other than, and it can't be for me to make a lot of money. Like, that's not very exciting to anyone except for you. I mean, you like that, right? Like that's great. But if, I don't know, Alex, when you had Wade Environmental, you were doing something. So like at the front end, and I don't know if we can talk about that. I'm sorry if that's like, I don't know what your things. Okay. So like you would have, I would look at that and go, oh, wow, this entity is, doing research on these things that I'm interested in, and they're going to try to do this and they're going to try to do that. What is the thing you're doing that's meaningful to society? And then you can make an advertisement to find people to do that. If you don't have something good, if it is, I'm going to have you drive a truck around and fire hose people's houses from the sidewalk, and you're going to get paid based on how many you can do a day, and that's it. That's the whole meaning in your work. It's going to be like impossible to get people to do that.
Do you think that was one of, with your lab? Do you think that was what helped pull your idea in as well? So people can go, wow, this is cool, man. This is not just killing shit. I'm actually going to research stuff, and we've got our own lab.
Absolutely. So we have technicians that will come in early to pin specimens and do extra things, or stay late because they're reading, about the biology of something or whatever. There's something more that they're doing. Like there's something else, something interesting, something engaging that they're involved with. And those sorts of things are like physical proof of like, oh, wow, you're investing in equipment and space. Like Alex, since you were here, we've tripled the size of the lab. Like we moved to a whole new wing here in the building, and it's awesome. But they see that sort of thing, and there is some pressure, as the owner to kind of constantly be moving forward, little stair steps that they will see. Oh, we're improving this. We're getting better things. And you don't have to do what I've done. Like it can be creative to whatever you're interested in. Just be true to who you are and figure out what it is you want to do that will benefit the world. And then people will follow you.
So this is, and I think a lot of people lose this. Sorry, Hugh. Sorry, I'd just jump in for a second. But one of the first things, that Lulu, who now does run Wade Environmental, one of the first things we sat down and discussed when we did the handover, she's like, what is your brand ethos and what is your brand, and I just sat and I thought, I don't know, it's me, I do stuff. And she's like, no, that's not it, you've got to disentangle yourself, which is very difficult for a micro business to do. Yeah. So disentangle yourself from your brand, because your brand is your company. Yourself, you are basically this employee. And you might think it's just a bit of a sort of like an exercise in nothing. What is your brand? What are your three big keywords? Honesty, integrity, reputation. But do you actually live by those? Are those words, as you say, that people would join you for? Are they words that people would sort of like invest in? And you've got to pick your own. What three words? Pick your own. Where are you on the map? And people overlook it as a bit of an exercise in nothing. What's it get me? But actually, it lets you know who you are. It lets everyone else know where you're going, and I think there's a big power in that we don't fully use.
Yeah, and actually I see Holly in the comments on the side. Don't put this one up because it's crazy long, as she tends to write very verbose. I think Alex, you and her are pretty similar, but yeah, she's saying the same sort of thing. There it is. Holy moly, look at this. We got a novel. I
just had to put it up.
So yeah, she's saying you got to be consistent. You got to walk your talk. You got to be what you say you're going to be. Because honestly, if people are very good, and they may not even know that they're doing this all the time. They're looking for inconsistencies or things that aren't true, things that they can't trust. Your brain is constantly on the lookout for danger. And one of the most dangerous things is being around people you can't trust, like evolutionarily. So if you're not true to yourself, they will pick up on it. And once you lose them, because of some kind of like inconsistency, you say, oh, we have the best trucks, and then they go out and it's a rusty, nasty truck. They're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Right? Like you have to be very consistent about what you're saying and then what you're doing.
Going back to your lab again, sorry to keep on about the lab. I've got a little bit of a fascination about this thing. Since you set it up, has it in any way improved your business other than engaging with your staff? Was there any point in it?
No, actually, it's, as we've gone along, it's evolved a lot. And so it's really become fairly central in our process, where we do a lot of our front end diagnostics now as part of a lab project. So when we go out to do a quote at a new facility, we're actually doing sort of a diagnostic project on that facility to begin with, as opposed to a quote. So we're going to bring back samples, we're going to bring back pictures, maps, history of what they've done. If we can get, trapping history and treatments and things like this, we bring that back to the lab and we do data analytics and figure out exactly what's going on and what needs to happen. The other thing is it's actually prevented us from implementing materials and strategies that were wholly ineffective. So we've had ones where we've brought in, we will now go through a validation process for things that we're trying to implement that we want to put out into the field. We'll do validation process through the lab first, and it has prevented us from, the newest, greatest, latest thing that comes on the market, and we go, this will be great. Let's deploy this right away, and then we pull it into a lab project, and then after 4 months, we go, oh my God, this doesn't work the way we thought it worked at all. And maybe in some cases it works differently, and we can use it, but not exactly how we had anticipated or we assumed based on what the label was saying. And other times it has completely not worked in any way at all. And some of those products are not on the market anymore. And in a pretty quick succession, we found out, oh my gosh, thank God we didn't tell everybody this is the way to go. So it protects us somewhat in that.
Do you think a lot of companies collect data and don't actually do anything with it?
I think almost all companies collect data and don't do anything with it, honestly. I don't know. I don't know what everybody's doing, but the amount of lack of data analytics that I see when we'll go to do an inspection at say a food plant or something is shocking. So I know the data is being collected. A lot of times we can actually reconstruct their data based on their reports and scans of devices and things, and then do proper data analytics on it and come to the correct conclusion, solve problems where they were getting, say, a trend analysis, and it's not any kind of analysis at all. It's just reporting of, okay, we caught this many mice over this period, or we saw this many Indian meal moths over this period. That's not analytics. We didn't do anything about it. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. We don't really know what's going on. So we definitely, during that diagnostic process, we will take that data and then compile it ourselves and come up with an actual diagnostic for it. But my experience is that no one is actually mining the data that is available. I mean, with AI, many more things are now coming into the data realm that weren't available before. And I know, Alex, you've talked about this before. Your work order notes, which used to be, hey, I showed up, I checked these boxes, I had this much bait consumption, I caught 2 mice, blah blah blah, yakety schmackety. You file that away in the binder and you never see it again. Well, now with AI, you can take all those and compile them in a quick way, and it can get valuable quantitative and qualitative data extracted from that and then analyzed in a way that we never have really been able to before without a massive amount of manual work. So there's like a frontier here, and we're changing how we train our people to take notes so that it's more not compliant, but friendly to AI analytics after the fact. So if you frame your data when you frame your notes, because there's data in there, when you frame your notes, you can write in a certain way that makes it that much better for AI to be able to, after the fact, pull that data, extract it, and get meaning out of it.
Because that's what I was about to say. That there is a risk. Sorry, Hugh, I'll let you jump in a minute. But an over-reliance on AI can be dangerous, especially when all you know of AI is large language models, because that is one facet. There's a lot of different facets of AI which are actually much better data interrogators than LLMs are. LLMs which we all know and we're all using, I'd say are akin to if you gave a child a task and gave them a year to do that task, but perceptually it took 5 seconds to get the result. That's what you're getting with an LLM. You give them a handful of notes and they say, how many times does the word the come in there? And they can do it. But they have no idea of the context of the word the, if it's capitalized or it's the rest of it. So if you want to use your notes in an AI format, like you describe it there, you need to really give it the benefit of the doubt. Because if you write long flowing prose, as some people do, it's not going to be able to understand that, and it will misinterpret that data, or at worst, it will hallucinate from that data an answer that's not there. So be careful. It's a fantastic tool, but it has
100%. There's going to be a calibration period for every account, and there's going to be a calibration period for us as an industry to understand what we're dealing with here, and not try to. I think we may try to run too soon, run too fast, and outrun ourselves a little bit, because you're absolutely right. When we early on did this, there would be things where AI would come back with just crazy nonsense. They'd be talking about insect light traps, or whatever you guys call them, fly catchers, or what, I can't remember. You guys have a different name, but
electric fly killers,
electric fly catchers, right? And I'd be like, this account doesn't even have those. Like, where are you getting this from? Like, where's this coming from? So there's a lot of calibration of how it works. And I think that the IPM data analyst is going to be a thing. There's going to be, like, we're making that be a position in our company. And I think it may be something in the future that we have, like, sort of, I would love to see that wider in the industry, because if we have this big data flow from smart devices and dumb devices and notes and AI and all these things, you have such a breadth of data coming in. And not that AI can't sort of manage and deal and compile some of these things, but to understand what's meaningful and what's not, you still are going to need some sort of direction and a way to kind of keep track of what the heck is happening.
Do you think we're overcomplicating it?
That's an interesting question. I think the smart devices that I've tested, I think a lot of times, I think there's like sometimes there's just too much going on with them to deploy wide for us. They could overwhelm you pretty quickly, and that's why I wonder. Some of them I know, like Ecolabs had the old Corteva system that they bought, and now they've deployed at all the Walmarts here in the States, and I just can't imagine, like, that's got to be flooded with data, just millions of data points. And then at that point, is it just noise? Right. Like,
just. So I was going to say, do you think that with regulation coming in, because you follow our side with crew and everything in the UK, and obviously that's going to start flowing through into America now. Do you think that will push more of the US market into using smart traps because you can no longer use rodenticide so much, or do you think that's a way off of that yet?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. And that was something interesting as I was looking at the comparisons there. Our regulatory differences are interesting because I feel like we will have regulatory pressure that's on the behavior of the pest control operator, licensing and things like this. And you will have regulations that are more on the material. The glue boards need special licensing, and rodenticide controls and things like that. And it's just a different approach. You're coming at that from a different angle than we are. I'm much more in favor of the licensing side as opposed to doing all the controls on the material side.
I think an element of that has got to do with geography and numbers and the rest of it, which is, imagine if you had a product registration, a different product registration for each state in the United States. It would get confusing. You move over lines, suddenly this thing that you've bought in Florida is illegal to use in Texas, and that becomes quite a difficult thing. And okay, there are some instances where that is starting to occur, especially California and the rest of it, and it's a bit of a nightmare. So I think geography and human geography plays a lot of a role as to it's easier to license the human being than it is to license the product out there. Whereas in the UK, it's probably the other way around, which is, that there are no federal borders or state borders there. So I think that's probably why there's that difference again. And it's probably historical. It's nothing to do with pesticides. Pesticides got lumped into it. If you want to go far enough back, it's probably got everything to do with like lumber and timber. Everything's got to do with lumber and timber.
Right. Now, Hugh, do you think that if we have more restrictions on materials, we will bring in more not AI, but like smart devices? Have you guys done that? Like you're using a lot more smart devices?
I think it's probably going to try to push it. There are certain, I'm not sure about in America, but there are certain organizations that are pushing for more restrictions on rodenticides for specifically that reason. Now, that could be because they have a vested interest in selling them, but I'm not sure that it will completely take over, because with any device, it's only as good as the device is. With a bait station, we see rats running over the top of the bait station all the time. So I think we're a way off. I think we're a way off of that. Yeah. But do you think that, again, because of the way that you follow the UK legislation, would you say that our regulatory legislation or licensing and everything is higher or lower than in the US, or is it about the same, or do you feel more licensed?
Oh my goodness. I think it's probably, it's funny. I was listening to some of the conversations you guys were having over the last year or two, and I feel like it's pretty comparable. I think it's pretty much the same. It's just different. And I think that we end up being products of our environment in a big way. So like the challenges we're faced with are different based on the ecology of where we are, right? Like what kinds of pests we're dealing with, how spread out populations are, all these things play into it. Even public opinion, they all play into it. And then things that seem smart and right for one location, and they probably are totally not right for another location. And now, Alex, you traveled all over the world in the last 2 years looking at pest control all over the place. You would probably saw extremely divergent techniques for the same sort of pest, but they're applied in different ways based on what they're dealing with and how they need to handle that problem. Is that accurate?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, to take it back a little bit, I think it's probably an unfair comparison to compare the UK to the US, two very different sort of like land masses. And as you say, one's got, you go to all different climates there and different pressures, the rest of it. It's probably fairer to actually compare the US to Europe, the EU. And at that point, actually, the similarities are not so much, because actually in Europe, you have one governing body who is governing those chemicals and those uses, and then each country has a different way of using and deploying them. They have their own sort of like qualifications and licensing, country by country, state by state. That makes a lot more sense. And so I actually think the Europe US analogy, we're actually a lot closer than you may think. It's probably better to, you compare the UK to California, and that's probably a better analogy as opposed to the UK to the US. But yeah, you go out further into the sort of like the Near and the Far East, and the driver for pest management moves away from environmental conservation, and it moves towards the human element of that, because the pests out there are having a very real impact on people's, they're all having an impact on people's lives. But when you get to small farming communities where it's all subsistence, and when you lose a crop, it's not necessarily eating into your bottom line. It literally is the difference between life and death sometimes in some of these small communities. Then pests aren't an irritation. Pests aren't a cosmetic issue as they're seen by a lot of the Western world. They're a very real threat to life. And so the way in which you undertake pest control is with great gusto. You want to kill those rats, you want to kill those mice, because if you don't, if they destroy your crops, if they eat into that silo, if they cause a fire, that's it. People very well may die. And so it's a very different shift in perspective and rationale for controlling pests in some parts of the world that we don't necessarily have in this quite privileged position of Western civilization, should I say.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you think like Central Africa or something, and you're spraying for malaria control, it's like no holds barred. Like use anything you have to use. You can't let that get out of hand. But we look here at our mosquito control, in the suburbs in the U.S. and like, oh, geez, are we really doing the right thing? Like, there's a wide variance of what should be allowed worldwide, and I think it's mainly based on that threat pressure. And how each area is sort of different.
So what's the one thing that is going on in the US industry, pest control industry, that worries you the most?
That worries me the most. That's a tough question. I have a lot of optimism just naturally, that no matter what ends up happening, so if we have tomorrow, they ban all rodenticides, first and second generation, ban glue boards, whatever. I think that our industry is going to remain no matter what. It has never not been an industry, right? So it's just a matter of, okay, what's the new way to do something? Figure that out, figure out what people will pay for that and keep the business going. So I don't really worry that much about it. And honestly, the last, I don't know, 2 years, I've gotten into collecting like old pest control texts and old devices and whatever. And the one thing that I've noticed as I've read through some of these, from 100 years ago to today, sort of the modern era, let's say, of pest control. We're not going out to the 1200s and not looking at Greek mythology for the information here. But one of the things that I've noticed is how little everything has changed. When you look at Hugo Hartnack here in Chicago in the 1930s wrote a book, and it was 202. What do we got there? There you go.
The WHO Advanced Level Vector Control Series from 1987 on the control of rodents. And it's exactly like you say. It's old technology that people think is lost to the past. And we still do the same thing.
Same thing. That's what I'm saying. This book I have from literally 100 years ago has pictures of people doing heat treatments in houses. And I'm thinking, we thought this was the newest thing. I have these climb-up interceptor traps that were for ants from the 1830s. Like they made them out of ceramics, and it would be a climb-up interceptor, just like you'd see for bed bugs today. Like, we really haven't changed anything. And honestly, the story that was told by people in the industry that were doing the work has always been about exclusion, habitat modification, non-chemical controls. Here's what you have to do to stop these things permanently. It never was like, I feel like the story that gets told about our industry is that we spray a bunch of chemicals. And this story came out in the late 40s, 50s, 60s. We got DDT and we got chloridane and we got all these crazy things, and we're going to spray a bunch of stuff and whatever. That's never been the thread of the people in the know that I call like the core of the industry, the people that were doctors and entomologists and PhDs and things. It's always been about the same thing. It has never changed. So I don't worry that these materials will come, they will go. We still have the same job to do, and we're going to figure out how to best do it. So it's hard for me to answer. But I guess door knockers, that's what I'm worried about most. So we'll go slow. Yeah, we'll go all the way around.
That was a journey. So an answer that had nothing to do with the answer that you gave.
I'm going to go off on another tangent. I'm going to go off on another tangent now.
Sorry.
So, no, it's fine. So you got a pest control guy. He's just starting off in the industry, whether he's in America or whether he's in USA.
Hey, you need the eagle sound effect. The caw. You got to have the yeah. We need it.
What one bit of information or what one bit of advice would you give them to a new starter?
Oh my goodness.
Something you've either got wrong or something you've got right.
Yeah. I think the most important thing, somebody's just starting off, and I have a few people that I'm friendly with that are just starting off businesses right now. or they're maybe first year, second year into this. I think the most important thing is know yourself and know what you want to do. And that is, and you're in your own race. You got to know what you're trying to do. Don't let anybody push you in the back to push you in different directions. I see a lot of people that think they have to grow faster than they actually want to, but they think they're a failure if they don't. I have to hire employees. I have to get out of the field. Do you have to do that? Or is somebody else, is that a different voice in your head that's telling you have to do that? Or are you staying small when you have a lot to give and you could be a great leader and you could hire people and build a company and you're going to be bummed, riding around in a truck by yourself for 10 years. You just know yourself and know what you're trying to do. And from that, make little decisions that move you in that direction. You're far less likely to go down a blind path or off a cliff if you're true to yourself and you're making those small decisions, moving in the right direction.
Paddle your own canoe, as it were.
There you go. There you go.
Your own canoe. Don't worry about if somebody else has got a yacht beside you. It's your
That's
canoe.
right.
Just keep going the way you're going.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, I suppose again it comes back to that brand identity question, isn't it? You got to know who you are and what you're wanting to do. If you are happy being a man in a canoe, go for it. If you want to be the man in a yacht, go for it. But you need to understand where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Otherwise, ain't nobody going to join you on that journey if you don't know where you're going.
And that's a deceptively hard question. I mean, it sounds easy. Oh, just be true to yourself. You're like, I don't know who the hell I am or what I'm trying to do. Yeah. I'm not sure. I started doing this because I thought it'd be a good idea. I didn't want to work for somebody else. And here I am with 4 employees and I hate all of them and I'm miserable. You hear these stories. It's rough. It's rough. Spend some time with reflection.
Another one. So you listen to quite a few podcasts and interact with quite a lot of people, pest controllers throughout the world as well. And I'm going to ask this of both of you, actually. Andy first. Is there something that you think that we should be talking about that pest controllers keep avoiding? What question do you think we keep avoiding, or all the pest podcasts or people? Is there anything that we keep avoiding the question?
I think we don't.
Is it chemical usage? Is it killing things? Is it anything like that?
In the U.S., we don't care. We just care about making the next sale. But you guys talk about a lot of the chemical things. I think we don't want to understand our cultures, our individual company cultures, and what we're about. I think we a lot of times we come from a bunch of technicians that start companies, mostly. That's the route. So you have these, roughneck guys that start a company. They're not talking about touchy-feely, relationships with their employees and whatnot. So I think we avoid a lot of those things. We are terrified of understanding our relationships with our employees and how that all works. I think we just really want to shut that off. That's touchy-feely. Oh, that's soft skills. And it's the most important part of your success. And then we don't know why we're frustrated, why so many people run into a roadblock and they're like, I just can't figure out what's wrong. Well, yeah, it's the door you won't open. And unfortunately, it looks inward, and that's terrifying. I think that's it.
Cool. Yeah. Alex, can you think of anything?
Yeah, I can't think of a dozen things, but I'd say probably the number one thing, just building on tonight, is money. And money in 2 elements, how we measure success and how we actually should measure success, because I think a lot of people measure their success on the top line that they're bringing in, and that's not necessarily the case, because you can make money, but unless you are smart with it, if you've got a lot of waste, you've got a lot of outgoings, if you've got a lot of things biting into your bottom line, then actually you're not a good company at all. You are simply just paddling to stay above water. And this is, I think, going all the way back to the very first thing we talked about, which is this residential versus commercial thing. And I think we've pretty much gone on the head. One has a great top line. You're going to make a lot of money, but there is a lot of unseen caveats to that money which are going to drag it down, which is, yeah, we'll have this huge spike in July, and then the rest of the year is going to be sits below the point at which I need to make money, and so I'm going to have to dip into that fund. So I think we need to talk about money more, and I think we need to talk about money in a smarter way, for our industry to move forwards, because the better we do, the better everyone else does by us. We're able to provide a service as an
That's
industry.
just a British thing, though, isn't it? On the whole, we just don't want to. Nobody wants to see anybody doing very well. They love to shit on people and see them go down the pan over here.
So what do you say,
You're on the way up, yeah, if you're on the way up, people are like, "Oh yeah, look at him. Who the hell's he think he is?" And that's
so I'll say two things to that. That British culture. So number one, we have a name. Sorry, I joked the other day. Fascists will never take over because fascists take the world too seriously. We literally have a name for a fascist in the workplace. We call them a job's worth, and it literally is when you take the piss out of someone for doing their job well. In any other culture, someone who does their job well, what do you call them? Oh, you call them, the boss, the manager, employee of the month. But in the UK, we're just like, you're a fucking job's worth, mate. Doing your job well. Who do you think you are? Yeah, I mean that's where that is. I can't remember what the second thing I was going to say. I wasn't nearly as funny as that. So there we go.
So
well,
Hugh, what do you think? What do you think we're not talking about?
I think we're possibly ignoring the fact that we actually do kill things.
Okay.
There's a big push on at the moment in the UK for the animal welfare and banning hunting. And I'm concerned that that's going to go mission creep, and that they're going to start involving other things. And I think it's about time that we stood up and said, look, this is what we do. We do this for public health. And I'm afraid, yes, we do kill shit. That's an uncomfortable truth. So I think we deliberately avoid talking about it because we don't want to be seen, which we are most certainly not pleasure killers. There are pleasure killers, but pest control managers on the whole are certainly not that at all. Far from it. We do it for a reason. And I think in a way, and I don't know how we're going to get around it, it's about time that we manage to stand up and actually say it. Look, this is what we do, and this is the reason that we do it.
Interesting.
I think in the US it's probably a little bit, it may be, I don't know, a bit easier because you have guys that actively go out, they enjoy hunting, shooting boar, shooting deer. You've got the lovely Hannah Barron going out and shooting things with her arrows, and it's part of the culture. And if you just happen to kill a rat, it's no big deal really. But over here it's getting whittled down. Once fox hunting's gone, it'll be the next thing, shooting, fishing, and it'll just keep on going down.
Oh no. Yeah. You might be right. I think there's 14 or 15 million hunters in the US, and I think there's something like 600,000 in England.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah. It's big difference. Big. So I think that's it anyway.
600,000 in the UK. I'd say that's on the high end of high.
That's what when I looked it up, that's what it came up to. It might be high, yeah.
I suppose if you no. What, pheasant shooting, grouse shooting, deer.
Yeah.
Chuck a few fishermen in there as well.
Yeah, okay.
Chuck some fishermen in there.
That'd be like less than 10% of the population. What do you got? 67 million population and 600,000 would be.
One in every 100. But I mean, so with that, it would mean that out of every 100 people I knew, but we are biased. We're pest managers. You'd think that we would know more, and I would say I probably know. I don't consider. I mean, and I'll probably get disagreed with here, but things like pheasant shoots, grouse shoots, and the rest of it is not necessarily hunting to my mind. That isn't hunting. That's sport shooting, because you're not hunting anything. You're standing at a post and somebody is walking past and beating the birds into the air. There's skill in the shot, but I don't think there's the skill of a hunt. The only thing we really have to hunt, to stalk, so to speak, is deer, and even then, that is under quite strict scrutiny. There's not a huge amount of deer stalking.
You could do a bit of rough shooting, couldn't you? You know, a bit of rough shooting, a bit of, you know, pigeon shooting. Guys going out with their rifles, blasting a few squirrels away.
Or maybe it's just the terminology hunting, but I would not want to stand up in a room full of Texans and be like, "Yeah, I'm a hunter. What do you hunt? Squirrel and the occasional pigeon." You'd be like, "Get out! Like, what are you?"
Didn't Elvis like eating squirrel? Wasn't it one of his favourite meals? I believe it was one of his favourite meals, grey squirrel. A sort of Cajun Creole.
He liked to eat a lot of things, didn't he?
Oh my gosh!
On that note, we're at the end. Awesome. We've come to an end.
Awesome, guys.
Have we got our 3 questions, or are we doing a different 3 questions at the end?
We can do the well. We've done the Andy's done those before, so I was just going to roll it on. Have you got any more questions, Alex?
Oh, I've got 100 questions ready. I could talk to them all night. This is the problem. But say squirrel again.
Squirrel.
Nice. Oh my god.
Squirrel.
Squirrel?
What's wrong with me?
Squirrel. We have 2 squirrels. We have red squirrels and grey squirrels. The grey squirrels came over from.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so it's your fault.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to knock it on the head. Right, say good night.
See you later, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Cheers. Take care, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Beauties and Beasties podcast.